Why are literary techniques so hard to understand? Imagine trying to listen to a song where the lyrics change meaning depending on how you hear them. That's similar to how literary techniques work in writing. They often operate on multiple levels at once, making them tricky to grasp. When an author uses a metaphor or a symbol, they're not just making a simple statement. They're adding layers of meaning that the reader has to interpret. The surface might say one thing, but the deeper message could be quite different. Recognizing this duality takes active effort, not just passive reading. There are over 100 recognized literary devices, each with its own purpose. For example, alliteration repeats consonant sounds to create rhythm, while personification gives human qualities to non-human things. Irony creates a contrast between what is expected and what actually happens. Hyperbole uses exaggeration to emphasize a point or add humor. Because each technique works differently, readers need to learn how to identify them and understand why an author chose to use each one. The same technique can also have different effects depending on how it's used. Irony, for example, can be dramatic, where the audience knows something the characters do not. It can also be situational, where reality turns out differently than expected. Or it can be verbal, where someone says the opposite of what they mean. Figuring out which type of irony is at play requires both knowledge and interpretive skill. Literary techniques are often subtle and not obvious at first glance. Many readers are used to straightforward language that simply conveys facts. But literature asks readers to look beyond the literal words and consider what is implied or suggested. This shift in thinking can be difficult because it's not how we normally process everyday conversation. It takes practice to get comfortable with reading between the lines and noticing the hints authors leave behind. Sometimes authors combine several techniques in one paragraph. For example, a sentence might have alliteration, symbolism, and personification working together. Untangling these layers of meaning requires careful attention and analytical thinking. You have to see how each element contributes to the overall effect. Understanding literary techniques is important for appreciating how authors craft their stories. They deliberately choose specific devices to shape how readers feel and what they think about the story. When you recognize these techniques, you see the skill and intention behind the writing. It turns reading into a more active and rewarding experience. For writers and aspiring authors, learning these techniques involves studying how experienced writers use them. It also means practicing your own writing and getting feedback on how well you use different devices. This process helps you develop your craft and become more aware of how language can create meaning beyond the words themselves. The reason why literary techniques are often hard to understand is that they requiring us to think differently about language. In everyday talk, we use words mainly to share information directly. In literature, words become tools for art and expression. They suggest feelings, ideas, and themes that aren't always obvious at first glance. Developing comfort with this kind of reading takes time, patience, and practice. It's a skill that grows as you become more familiar with how authors craft their stories and how language can do more than just convey facts.